Coming in at number 10, we have that sinking feeling. How many accidents out at sea do you have to have before you realize that you should never go on a boat again? For whatever reason, there are some people who will never have a good time out on the ocean, so you might want to find a job that doesn't have anything to do with H2O. Well, Violet Jessup was working as a nurse in 1911, and she was primarily on ocean cruisers. Her first accident at sea was when the boat she was on board of crashed into another boat. Luckily, she was able to make it onto one of the lifeboats and get out without a scratch. Now, she probably thought that that was just bad luck, and what better way to circumvent bad luck than by going on a boat that was apparently unsinkable? Yes, the next year she got a job on the Titanic. Well, that stinks, and I think we all know what happened there. Again, Violet was able to make it out without a scratch. After that, you would think, I am never going on a boat again, but a girl's gotta work, so there was no slowing her down. The final incident was on board of the HMS Britannic. The boat hit a mine and was going under. This time, she wouldn't be so lucky. She was able to make it out alive, but while escaping the sinking boat on a lifeboat, the lifeboat got sucked into the moving propellers of the Britannic and Violet received a serious blow to the head. But like I said, she lived. Probably never to go out to sea again.
Coming in at number 9, we have the Man From Taured. Were we sent a man from another parallel universe, or did he arrive via some kind of portal or vortex? Our story here stems back to 1954 when a man was detained at the Japanese border after arriving on a plane from Europe to Haneda Airport. The man said he was on his 3rd business trip to Japan that year, and he had a wallet filled with a mixture of currencies, seeming to verify his business traveler status. When he presented his passport, officials were absolutely baffled, asking where he was from. Now, the man, who primarily spoke French, said, "Taured. Where is this mystery place?" He showed his passport again and the stamps that supported his travels. The only thing is, nobody had ever heard of Taured. The company he was traveling to said that they'd never heard of him, and he was carrying a checkbook to a non-existent bank. When he was asked to point out Taured on the map, he pointed to where Andorra is today and seemed confused and offended to be told that it's not a real country. He was detained in a hotel overnight while Japanese authorities decided what to do with him, but by morning, he disappeared. Did he accidentally walk through a portal to another universe? Maybe. Coming in at number 8, we have the Bernstein-Bears phenomena. Also called the Mandela Effect, the Bernstein-Bears phenomena claims to prove the existence of parallel universes with subtle differences. People vehemently claim that the Bernstein-Bears were spelled with an E and not an A, and honestly, I for one absolutely thought that the Looney Tunes were the Looney Tunes until I watched a video on the phenomena last year, and now I'm straight up convinced that I'm living in the wrong universe, as it is clearly Looney Tunes. They're cartoons. This new world doesn't make any sense. Some people out there are also adamant that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the late 1980s, which is more than just a slightly altered timeline. It's not just spellings here, this is a pretty major parallel universe event. Coming in at number 7, we have Deja Vu. Deja vu, a glitch in the Matrix, or a signal from a parallel universe. While both seem as likely as one another, it is thought by some that the weird moments where we feel like we've been or experienced something before are actually signals that something key is happening in our parallel lives. Not only do some people believe parallel universes exist side by side, some people think they interact with one another in some way. According to Dr. Michio Kaku, an American futurist, deja vu occurs as a result of a person's ability to flip between universes. Others believe it is because we're vibrating in unison with the frequency of another universe that's parallel with our very own. Oh, I've gone cross-eyed. Coming in at number 6, we have the Lost Beatles album. A parallel universe may have given our world a gift in the form of a Lost Beatles album, Everyday Chemistry. This story goes that in 2009, a man called James Richards found himself accidentally in a parallel universe, as you do. Luckily, there was also a person from another parallel universe there, a man named Jonas. Now, Jonas was on a trans-dimensional tourism trip from the other Earth, and he told Richards that in his world, amongst other things, John Lennon was still alive and the Beatles never broke up. Richards then stole a copy of a later album never released by the band and returned with it to our Earth. What did he do with one of the most sought after pieces of music from a non-history that almost but never happened here? he uploaded it to the internet. Eagle-eared fans were absolutely having none of it though. They said the album is comprised of clever mashups from all of the Beatles' solo careers. Richards later said that even though in an alternate universe the Beatles hadn't broke up, that didn't mean their future music ideas disappeared. I'm not so sure about this one, but I would love to hear what Paul McCartney has to say about it. Paul, tell us, is it real? I guess you're living in another universe so you don't know, but I don't know. I feel like you'd be able to answer. Coming in at number 5, we have dreams. Could our dreams be signals from a parallel universe? Some say maybe. In a number of First Nations cultures in North and Central America, people believe that dreams allow us to walk planes in other dimensions. Their reasoning is that dreams take place in color and can include all of their senses. They think that when you're in a dream, you are in another world, perhaps a world you already exist in. If you're doing something strange in your dream, maybe it's a sign that actually you live a far stranger life somewhere else. Coming in at number 4, we have the bruise. Anyone else here bruised like a peach? Just me? Me? And the universe. In 2010, along with a team of researchers, Stephen Feeney of the University College in London announced that he had discovered patterns in the radiation background left over from the Big Bang. Now this seemed to suggest that our universe bumped into not 1, not 2, but 4 other universes and was left bruised. Okay, what is the plural of universes? Universi? Universi? Universi. Also, from the bruising, further researchers in California think that it is clear that this leads to some kind of like bubble universe theory, which maybe I can get on board with. Maybe Men in Black got it right when they imagined us all as marbles in a big bag. Coming into number 3, we have the cold spot. In 2004, astronomers found something that baffled them, an unusually cold area of space. The area is 1.8 billion light years across and much colder than its surroundings. The area also contained 10,000 less galaxies than in other areas of a similar size studied in space. A researcher from Durham University in the UK believed that the spot could be evidence of a multiverse. They said it seemed as if a parallel universe smashed into ours, affecting it like a car pile-up on the motorway would, only they're calling it a cosmic shunt. They believe the impact was so vast it pushed energy out from a big region of space, therefore creating the cold spot. It's hard to get your head around, but that is what they think. Coming in at number 2, we have City in the Sky. In October 2015, Chinese TV went wild when thousands of residents in 2 areas of the country reported seeing a huge floating city in the clouds. Puzzled onlookers saw skyscrapers in the clouds and believed that they were seeing a ghost city or the colliding of our reality with a parallel universe. The phenomenon occurred in both Guangdong and Jiangxi, with some believing it was the beginning of an alien invasion. The images were caught on camera for the world to see and promptly went viral across the rest of the globe. So what on Earth or above Earth is going on? Well, even though it looks like a city in the clouds to you and me, apparently it is an optical illusion called Fata Morgana, which is the natural mirage. So that is what a lot of scientists are saying anyway, but other people are convinced it's a sign of a parallel universe or even a window to another world. Finally, coming into number 1, we have black holes. The theory of loop quantum gravity suggests that there is no point of singularity in a black hole, rather they're simply folds in the universe. Everything we know about quantum physics tells us that information is never lost, that energy can't be created or destroyed, so perhaps black holes don't suck and destroy, maybe they suck and create. A lot of scientists are dabbling with the idea that black holes are indeed folds or portals to an older part of the universe. Professor Stephen Hawking gave a lecture in 2015 wherein he discussed how it may be possible to come out of the other side of a black hole. He said the hole would need to be large, and if it was rotating, it might have a passage to another universe, but you couldn't come back to our universe. Anyone want to take that one-way trip? I don't know if I do. So guys, are black holes portals to another universe? This seems like a good moment to mention our sister channel Life's Biggest Questions, which answers all kinds of questions, especially like that. We love a bit of black hole chat, so head on over there where you'll hear me, you'll hear Charlotte, you'll hear Jack. Good times.
In our number 10 spot today, we have the man who survived 2 atomic. If you went to history class in high school, then you probably will remember hearing about the 2 atomic that the US dropped on the 2 Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. 90,000 people were killed due to the blasts and the radiation. But in 2009, the Japanese government confirmed that a man was in both of these cities during their and he survived both of them. Come again? Yes, a man named Tajumu Yamaguchi was on a business trip in Hiroshima on August 6th when he looked up at the sky and saw the B-29 and it dropped 2 parachutes. Before he knew it, he saw a great flash in the sky and he was blasted by the impact. By August 9, he was back home in Nagasaki recovering from the incident, only to endure it again. Even though you would probably think that he might not have lived long due to the radiation exposure, he actually lived to 93 and passed away in 2010. That's an insane story that makes you think out of 90,000 deaths this man survived. He must have had a higher purpose.
At number 9, we have the Mandela Effect. You might have heard of this. This is where people misremember something from the past. Now, people misremembering things happens all the time. What's the big deal? But the Mandela Effect is literally thousands of people remembering it a different way. It's called the Mandela Effect because there are thousands of people, maybe even millions, who remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s. But he didn't die in the 80s. This dude lived until he was an old man. Or am I remembering it wrong? Are the other people right? The reason why this could be proof of a simulation is because these slight mistakes could show some sort of human error or a glitch in the system on the side of the people who are running the simulation. Someone sat down on the wrong button and was like, oh, I killed Nelson Mandela. I'm gonna get written up for this for sure. God damn, that wasn't supposed to happen. At number 8, we have Deja Vu. If you haven't seen The Matrix, then what are you doing with your life? It's not only one of the most amazing movies that showcases what could happen if AI gets out of control, but it also is one of the greatest action movies of all time. And there's a 4th one coming, so you need to catch up on everything. Now, The Matrix was one of the first movies to showcase the simulation idea, and evidence of The Matrix or something changing in The Matrix was Deja Vu. If you saw something repeat itself, it meant that you were in the simulation and that things were about to get crazy. Now, how does this translate to the real world? What if The Matrix wasn't so much a movie, but it was a message? What if the people outside of the simulation wanted us to figure it out? And see if any people would use the hints laid throughout the movie as a way to actually break free from this digital prison. There could be clues throughout that movie that showcase all the signs of us being in a world of ones and zeros. Either that, I'm starting to look like Charlie from It Was Always Sunny with the strings and paper, and I'm like, eh. At number 7, we have simulation loop. We are already starting to see what is called a simulation loop. We live in a simulated society. Many things we create are larger versions of smaller things. Planes are simulations of birds. Tanks are simulations of Beatles. As we create what we think is better versions of what already exists. Now we could be getting close to a loop of creating a world which is more interesting than our own. Virtual reality has started to take the world by storm, and in it we will build worlds that are far more superior to our own. Worlds where people can fly, everyone is rich, you don't get sick, and everyone can res their buddy because they got the ray gun. Now, some people theorize that we have done this before and we are currently living in a previously created simulation, and we might be headed into another loop in the near future and go into a simulation again. So it's like simulation on simulation. Inception. In simulation. No, I'm not gonna work on that. I made that word up. I'm sorry. At number 6, we have the double slit experiment. This was an experiment where you take a panel of copper plate with 2 slits in it and then you fire electrons at it to see how the electrons interact on the other side. Do they move through in waves or particles? The first time this experiment was performed, the electrons seemed as though they were moving through in particles. The scientists wanted to see this in action, so they set up a device to observe this. And when the electrons were under observation, they moved in waves. So they did the test again without the observation and they went back to particles, meaning that the electrons would change how they interacted based on whether or not they were being observed. If this was a simulation, much like a video game, the processing power would increase on certain areas when you were looking at them, which would explain how this changed the electron activity. Obviously, it's probably a lot smarter explanation than that, but I'm going with the simulation one because I am not smart. At number 5, we have Elon Musk said so. Come on, you can't argue with this dude. He's one of the smartest, richest people around. If anyone knew we were in a simulation, it would be this guy. He probably sees the Matrix all the time. He just doesn't want to freak us out by letting us know that there is a 100% chance we are in a simulation, by letting us know that there's a 100% chance we are in a simulation. Also, if anyone was on the up and up on whether or not we are in a simulation, it would be billionaires. Not because they paid someone to figure it out, but because they clearly have cracked some sort of code and know how the world works and are doing something we don't understand. If you had that kind of knowledge, you would be able to get ahead in the game. But Elon has made the theory of a simulation world so popular, so is he our digital messiah, or is he just a little bit crazy and has a lot of money? At number 4 we have That's Why We Have Ghosts. Now this seems like I'm trying to explain a myth with a crazy explanation, but that is why you guys come here. We want to get a little crazy with our theories because that is way more fun. Just walking around in our own reality, we don't want to do that, jeez. But what if ghosts and hauntings have nothing to do with ghosts, but they are glitchy parts of our own reality? Like a haunted house is just basically Fallout 76. Ghosts are floating around doing the T-pose, freaking everyone out. Demons, werewolves, all that sort of spooky stuff that we've always heard about, myths, monsters, and creatures that could all kill us, that's just DLC that the public didn't like and then they just patched it out. And number 3 we have creative purpose theory. Why do we exist? Some people think it's to serve God, other people think it's just to have fun, other people think there is no purpose at all, that we just live and die to get farted out into the earth and never heard from again. But what if we had a much greater purpose? To create, to make something so smart and so interesting we couldn't bear to compete with it. As we get closer and closer to making AI, it seems that a self-aware, learning, adapting intelligence that has the power of the internet in its mind would be too much for us to compete with. It would be a living god that we made, and we should be pretty proud of ourselves for doing it. But what if that is our purpose? To make a being that is all-knowing and able to move through the universe, consume knowledge, and become even more powerful, all without needing to eat, sleep, procreate, or even take breaks. What if we already did this and now we're living inside this endless machine, and the only reason it keeps us alive in this falsified world is because it wants to keep learning from us? Well, if that's the case, download me some abs because it's almost beach season. At number 2 we have computer viruses for people. DNA is a type of code, much like the code that makes up computers. So could a virus from a computer get into someone's DNA somehow? Most of you probably think that is impossible, but there was a group at the University of Washington who might prove you wrong. Now I want to start off by saying you can't get sick from a computer. The virus that got put into human DNA cannot affect people. Don't freak out. But in 2017 this group found out that you could put malware into a strand of DNA. It was a very interesting experiment, and it might have worked because all of our DNA is actually code and we are actually made up of ones and zeros and nothing's real. Go rob someone. Don't actually do that. And for our number 1 spot we have the Fibonacci sequence. This is gonna be some math stuff, so if you guys aren't good at math, don't worry, because I suck at math too, and I had to find a dumbed down explanation so I could understand it, and I'm gonna be bringing you an even dumber version right out of my mouth. The Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers where the totals equal the numbers before added together. So starting with 0, we have 0 plus 1 equals 1, 1 plus 2 equals 3, 2 plus 3 equals 5, 3 plus 5 equals 8, and so on and so forth, with the sequence looking like 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, and it goes on like that forever. Now what does this have to do with simulation? Well, this sequence shows up in a lot of math and also a lot of nature. Many plants and other natural forming things have perfect Fibonacci sequences inside of them, almost like they were programmed from a computer. This could just be the most efficient way to make life and sells our living math, or could we all be in an auto-create version of life and that's how the world is built in a computer and it's just like boop, they hit a button and it makes everything.
Starting off this countdown, we had the glitching cat. Either this cat is walking on an invisible treadmill or it was caught glitching. Recently, this video was uploaded to Reddit and it features a cat walking but staying perfectly in one place. So you might be thinking, aw, poor kitty, the ground must be slippery for them. And that's why it's having trouble walking. No, because a couple seconds into the video, a confused man walks by and the cat stops, turns to him, and then walks in his direction. But then it turns back and starts walking in the spot again. Is this a glitch in the Matrix? Or should I say glitch in the Meowtrix? Sorry, I hate myself.
Moving on, at number 9 we have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. That's right folks, our childhood nursery rhyme is much darker than you thought. So if you play the line Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder what you are backwards, it sounds like I wish there was no Allah. Allah in Arabic means God. So parents believed that it was going to cause their child to become an atheist or even a devil worshipper. Now this can only be heard in some versions of the song, and even then it still sounds a bit distorted, so I personally don't believe that was put there intentionally. But seriously, who discovered this? Are there just people spending their days listening to songs backwards trying to spark some kind of controversy? Next up at number 8 we have the song Eunuch Provocateur by Mars Volta. Now the name of the song alone is pretty disturbing honestly. And yeah, it's not like a positive, uplifting pop song, so what do you expect? Now towards the beginning of the song, in between an instrumental break, you can hear some sort of distorted voice. When played in reverse, it sounds like someone saying, "Did mommy and daddy ever hurt or spank you?" I have no clue why they incorporated this in the song. Maybe it was just like to hop on the backmasking trend, or maybe it truly does have a darker meaning. In our 7th spot we have the song Fire on High by Electric Light Orchestra. Now orchestra music is not typically that scary, but this song contained quite a creepy message. So at the beginning of the song there appears to be some sort of gibberish. People detected that it was a message and played it backwards. That's when they revealed that it said, "Music is reversible, but time is not. Turn back, turn back, turn back." The voice itself is very deep and heavy, giving it a creepier tone. Now, people tried to decipher this message. Some people think that he is warning about impending doom. And of course, you have the people that think everything is satanic. Well, parents were fearful because this soundtrack was used as the opening theme for CBS Sports and even at a ride at Seabreeze Amusement Park. Although it's creepy and we don't really know the exact meaning, I doubt we have anything to worry about. Right? Yeah. Moving on to number 6, we have 123 Red Light by 1910 Fruit Gum Company. Honestly, this song is said to be a classic childhood song for a bunch of individuals around the 1970s. Many people listened to this song and focused on the snazzy tune or catchy repetition of the line 123 Red Light. But apparently this song has an underlying message about date rape. What's scary is how this song was specifically targeted towards children and young teens. It is not a good song that they should be listening to at such a young age, especially when they are still developing and can easily be influenced. So when you listen to the lyrics, it says things like, "Every time I try to prove I love you, 123 red light, you stop me. Baby, you ain't right to stop me." Then it also says, "123 red light won't stop me. When I know I'm right, don't stop me, 123 red light." That makes me feel so sick. Like literally he's singing about trying to pursue a woman who doesn't want to engage in sexual activities. Even though she's rejecting him, he still won't stop because he thinks he's right and she's wrong for doing so. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen. Now this song is fairly heavy. The emotion in Springsteen's voice is very powerful. It's honestly beautifully sung. But unfortunately, what some people may not know is that it is actually about a serial killer by the name of Charlie Starkweather. When Charlie was just 19, he killed 11 people in Nebraska and Wyoming. There was no motive, it was just a relentless killing spree. The song has lyrics like, "Me and her went for a ride, sir, and 10 innocent people died." And "Through to the badlands of Wyoming, I killed everything in my path." This is all true to what Charlie did. Suddenly, the harmonica moments in the song just sound a bit more creepier than normal. It's a very sad song once you listen to it with that in mind. Moving on, in our 4th spot, we have Dinner at the Deviant's Palace by Cradle of Filth. I mean, again, what did you expect? They're an extreme heavy metal band, and have said that they're inspired by gothic mythology, books, and horror films. They even wear upside down crosses. So I'm not surprised by this dark message hidden in their song. So this interesting song is the 8th track from their album Bittersweets to Succubi. So in the song, when it's played in reverse, you can hear a young boy reciting the Lord's Prayer. The young boy's voice is eerie with like a static effect over it. It sounds almost like he's possessed. Now, apparently, when a Lord's Prayer is recited backwards, it can be used to summon demons. So maybe be careful next time you choose to listen to this song. You might receive more than you bargained for. In our 3rd spot, we have Hate Your State by Choking Victim. Now, Choking Victim is a punk rock band with songs like Born to Die, No Gods, and In My Grave. So obviously their music is going to be more darker and involve more mature subject matter. Now in their song Hate Your State, there's a whole secret paragraph that they included.
This message is inserted at the beginning of the song and at first just sounds like the singer is struggling to speak as if he's choking. So some people just overlooked it, thinking it was an artistic choice. However, other individuals knew that a message was hidden there, so when played backwards, it says, "You think you are alive, MF? You're just the walking effing dead. You're stepping on my back to stay alive. West Coast, East Coast, you're all a bunch of effing fools." Then it tells the listener to kill themselves and hail Satan. But then it ends with him saying, "Good night boys and girls, pleasant dreams." So I guess that's sweet, I don't know. But seriously, I know they're a more hardcore band, but that message is a little too scary. At number 2, we have Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. Now, believe me, when this one is played in reverse, it sounds more like it should have been titled Stairway to Hell. Now, this song in particular is different from the rest. It is shown that the whole thing in reverse has tons of hidden messages, not just one line, the whole song. So throughout the reversed version of the song, you can hear him say things like, "Here's to my sweet Satan," or "All my life will end for him," or even, "Oh, I will never be saved because I lived with Satan." And this isn't the first time Led Zeppelin has been accused of backmasking dark messages. Now, in the forward version of the song, he even says the line, "'Cause you know, sometimes words have two meanings." This is what led people to believe there was a hidden message in the song. So, some individuals believe that he is trying to recruit people into Satanism. What supported their theory is that the guitarist Jimmy Page bought a home from Aleister Crowley. Now, Aleister is known to try and have his followers learn to read and speak backwards. Coincidence? But either way, the satanic messages are pretty creepy. And in our number 1 spot, we have Big Hoops by Nelly Furtado. Now, Nelly Furtado is a Portuguese-Canadian singer-songwriter known for her songs like "I'm Like a Bird" and "Turn Off the Light." Now, she isn't one to typically spark controversy, but this next song has people thinking that she's part of the Illuminati. Now, towards the end of her song, Big Hoops, you hear her say, "It's not over yet." And then some inaudible sounds. It seemed like nothing big until it was played backwards. That's when you can clearly hear her say, "Oh my god, descending to the 13th floor. We're on the 11th floor, descending to the 12th floor." And then it repeats. There is something about this one that just makes me feel so uncomfortable. Like, her voice is just so eerie in it. There's just something so off about it, and her voice just gives me the goosebumps. Now, 13th floors are thought to be unlucky, and most buildings don't even have a 13th floor. And then throughout the music video, she does the Illuminati symbol. She makes a triangle with her fingers and places it to her eye. She does this multiple times throughout the video. So, people believe that she sold her soul to the Illuminati or that she's involved with them somehow. People furthered this theory by even adding up all the numbers she said and doing more research. Then they came to the conclusion that it all added up to 666, the devil's number. Now, that one is kind of reaching. Like, I too could make up some bogus math equation like, oh, she has 2 eyes and she's wearing 4 bracelets, so that makes 6 and her favorite number is 6. So you see, like, I could just make it up too. So that probably just was a coincidence, but the reverse message just really creeps me out.
At number 10, we have the Fermi paradox. This theory has some holes, but it is still very interesting, so it was a perfect way to start out this list. We live in a universe that spans an unfathomable distance and has so many planets in them, you couldn't count them even if you were really good at counting. So, some of them are much older than ours, so that means that their life would be way more advanced. So why on earth have we never heard of any of these aliens? Why have they not come out of the stars to see us? Well, this could be because we have a government that is hiding them from us, or it could be because we are in a simulated world and there's no benefit to simulating life on other planets. That could mean that the processing power and whatever we're hooked up to just isn't strong enough. We need to get a rig that is way better if we want some alien life to come in. We've got to invest on a new graphics card and stuff. Coming in at number 9, we have There's My Wife. When do you think you're gonna meet your soulmate? Well, for some of us it's never gonna happen, so stop waiting and start getting really good at Call of Duty or something, because it's going to be a lonely existence. But for some other people, they might have already met the person that they're going to spend the rest of their life with, but they just don't know it yet. This was the very situation that happened to Amy Maiden and Nick Wheeler. The two of them are married now, but right before they were set to elope, they decided that they would go through some old family photos. Most of them were probably a nice hit of nostalgia, as most family photos are, but there was one that was particularly interesting. There was one of Nick on a summer vacation with his family when he was a kid. He was on the beach with his brothers and sisters, and in the background of the photo is Amy. What? what the hell? How is this possible? Is one of them a time traveler who was sent back in time to rewrite history by falling in love with the other? Well, no, it wasn't that sinister. Actually, Nick's family was on vacation in the town where Amy grew up, and it just so happens that Amy was on the beach at that exact moment. Sort of romantic, but also kinda weird. Coming in at number 8, we have Anthony Hopkins Needs Something to Read. We live in the golden age of literature. Anything you want to read you can find in a second. You can just look it up on Google, and half the time you don't even need to pay for it because you can just steal it off the internet. But things weren't always this easy. When Anthony Hopkins was casted in the movie A Girl from Petrova, he wanted to be the best actor he could possibly be by finding a copy of the book so he could have a good idea of what the movie was going to be like before he was in it. But he couldn't find the book anywhere. Randomly, he found it on a train sitting in an empty booth. When he was finally on set for the movie, the director of the movie asked him if he could borrow a copy of the book because he had left his on a train. That's a weird, spooky connection right there. Coming in at number 7, we have the twin link. That has been a question for a long time. Do twins have some sort of neural link that lets them share thoughts and ideas? Does sharing a womb make you connected to someone forever in a way that cannot be explained yet by science? Well, no matter what your opinion is on this story is very strange. James Lewis and James Springer had a very strange thing happen to them when they were 39 years old. They found out that they had been separated at birth and were twins. Their mother gave up the two babies and they ended up in different homes. The weird thing is they both ended up with the name James. Then later in life they both became police officers. Both of their second wives were named Betty. Both of them had a son who they also named James, and they both had a dog named Toy. Now in the infinite universe, maybe this is just par for the course, and there's nothing going on here other than a roll of the die hitting the same number over and over. Or maybe twins are actually connected through some sort of psychic force. Coming in at number 6, we have My Buddy Umberto. Alright, this one is super freaky and I'll give you the whole story, but for it we have to travel back to the year 1900 on the day of July 28th. This was the day before the King of Italy, Umberto I, was assassinated. I would never want to be king because it seems like everyone is just trying to kill you all the time. Well, on this day Umberto went to a restaurant to hang out and get a little food, and he met a dude who looked just like him. He went up and talked to this guy, and it turns out that this guy was born on the same day as him, in the same town. They were both married to ladies named Margarita, and on the day Umberto became king was the day that this dude opened his restaurant. Whoa, that's a little freaky. Well, the next day Umberto was assassinated, and guess what? The restaurant owner was also killed. Coming in at number 5, we have the twin theory continues. We're getting even deeper into the wild world of twins. Is there some sort of connection, or was our next set of twins just the two most unlucky dudes to ever share a womb? Arthur and John Mulford ended up in a hospital at the same time. These guys were twins and they ended up in the same hospital and they were both having heart attacks. They would die around the same time. Dude, if I had a twin, I would be like, you better be healthy. I don't need my good heart crapping out because you love Doritos. Coming in at number 4, we have Robert Fallon's best hand. Robert Fallon was on a hot streak in a poker game back in 1968. He was playing with some mobsters, and it turns out that they didn't trust he was just lucky, so they killed him on the spot, accusing him of cheating. Now, they didn't want to split up the money, but they also didn't want to stop the game, so they got a new guy to come in and play. This new dude was now on an even better hot streak, and eventually the mobsters told him what happened, and he realized that the guy who was killed was his absentee father who had been missing since he was a kid. Coming in at number 3, we have Mark Twain pulls a Babe Ruth. Calling your shots comes in all shapes and sizes, and with Mark Twain, it came in the form of calling out when he would die. That's a power of your own destiny that most people could never imagine. Mark Twain was born when the Halley's Comet passed by the Earth in 1835, and if you know the Halley's Comet, you will know that it comes around every 75 years like clockwork. When the next passing of the comet was coming through, Mark stated that he came with the comet and he will die with the comet. And just like that, when the comet passed, so did Mark Twain. Coming in at number 2, we have the Tyranny Curse. This is one of the strangest coincidences I could find. This is all tied to the construction of the Hoover Dam. The thing is, the scouting and construction of the dam spanned from the 1920s into the 1930s, and a lot of people died in the process. The first person who died was a guy named J.G. Tyranny, and the last guy who died was Patrick Tyranny. The spooky thing is that Patrick was J.G.'s son, so their deaths were the opening and closing ceremonies for the dam in the darkest way. Coming in at the #1 spot, we have The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. This is a famous book by Edgar Allan Poe, and it's about a boat that sinks and then a bunch of people on board get stranded and they have to eat one person from the boat. A pretty grim story, and it should be no surprise coming from Poe. But here's the thing. 46 years after this book came out, a boat by the same name went down and the people on board got stranded and they were forced to eat someone on board who is named Richard Parker. Now the crazy thing about this is the person who got eaten in EAP's book was also named Richard Parker. Yeah, that's kind of freaky.
Starting off this video, we have Every Breath You Take by The Police. Honestly, I'm a big fan of The Police and Sting. Some of my favorite songs are Roxanne and Message in a Bottle, you know, the classics. So anyway, I'm sure you've heard of the song Every Breath You Take. Now honestly, I never thought too much of the song, I just thought it was a cute romance song. Well, turns out it is quite the opposite. Apparently Sting wrote the song after a bad breakup. So now if you listen to the song keeping that in mind, it sounds like he's just stalking his ex. Like, just listen to these lyrics. Every breath you take and every move you make, I'll be watching you. Every single day and every word you say, he'll be watching you. Like, now that's really creepy, so maybe think twice before playing that song at your wedding, just a suggestion.
Coming up in our 9th spot today is more of a historical pop culture moment that scientists just wouldn't be able to explain. The discovery of the twins named Jim, a personal favorite of mine. You may or may not have heard of this story before, but personally I think it's fascinating. In 1979, a set of twins that were separated at birth reunited at the age of 39. When they met up, they discovered some pretty crazy coincidences. Both of the boys had adoptive parents that named them Jim. Both of the boys loved math and carpentry, and both pursued a career in security. But the coincidences don't end here. Here's where you start thinking, there must be something else going on that we don't understand. Are you ready? Both boys married women named Linda. Both boys then divorced their Lindas, and both remarried women named Betty. What? Shivers. But it doesn't end here. They both had children and named them James Allen. Mind blown. Like total shivers right now. In our 8th spot today, we have the ship Survivor. Imagine being on the Titanic and surviving that horrific accident. Then imagine being in another ship that ended up sinking and surviving that, and then being in a ship collision after that. That's definitely enough to make me never board another ship again and perhaps also have PTSD whenever I see water. That was the case for Violet Jessup, who was a stewardess aboard the RMS Titanic in 1912. She managed to aboard a lifeboat after being handed a baby to look after. Years later, she was aboard its sister ship, HMHS Britannic, in 1916 when it had sunk. She actually almost died in this sinking as she was on a lifeboat that got sucked under by the propellers, but she jumped out in time. She was also aboard the RMBS Olympic in 1911 when it collided with the British warship. So to say that she lived quite the life would be an understatement. She actually died of old age in 1971. In our 7th spot today, we have the arguably fateful death of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. I say arguably because, well, just you wait and you decide. Yet another story that I hope you learned in history class, the assassination of Franz Ferdinand and the beginning of World War II. You may have learned that he died after an attack on his car, but you may not know that the bomb that was meant for his car actually hit the car behind him and the attempt failed, and Ferdinand was able to get away unscathed. The assassins, we can imagine, were probably feeling hangry, due, of course, to this failed attempt and most likely hunger, as they then decided to stop at a nearby cafe for a sandwich. The Archduke, probably thankful to be alive, dashed off and continued on to safety when his driver took a wrong turn and ended up in front of the sandwich shop. The assassin saw him, shot him and his wife, and thus began the whirlwind of World War II. Makes you think that perhaps he was fated to die, or maybe he was just having a really bad luck day. I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. In our 6th spot today, we have the deaths of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. In 1775, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams became good friends fast. They worked together to draft the Declaration of Independence, and they also spent time together as diplomats for the US in Europe. They had a falling out in 1801 when Jefferson became president over Adams, and they didn't reconcile until 1812. On July 4th, 1826 though, the day that America declared its independence 50 years prior, Thomas Jefferson passed away. But what's interesting is that John Adams, in another state, was on his deathbed, only to say the words, "Thomas Jefferson survives." And then he passed away. Does this mean he saw Jefferson's ghost greet him on his deathbed? They both ended up passing on the same date, and not only that, but on the date that was seemingly their historical purpose. Coincidence? I think not. In our fifth spot today, we have the saving of Robert Todd Lincoln. You may or may not know this, but Robert Todd Lincoln is famously known as the son of the former US President Abraham Lincoln. In late 1864, Robert was traveling from New York to Washington when he found himself leaning against a stopped train. When the train started moving, he fell onto the tracks, only to be saved by an actor named Edwin Booth. When he later realized that his savior was the famous actor Edwin Booth, he made sure to thank him. It wasn't until much later did Edwin learn the identity of the man he saved, as he was the son of the president whom was shot by Edwin's brother, John Wilkes Booth. That's too weird of a coincidence for me. I guess perhaps if Lincoln's son had died, maybe Lincoln himself wouldn't have been where he was on that fateful day that he passed. In our fourth spot today, we have another weird coincidence revolving around Robert Lincoln. The death of not one, not two, but three American presidents occurred right in front of him. Highly sus, Robert. The first was, of course, his own father's assassination, President Abraham Lincoln. After his death, Robert and his mother moved to Chicago, where he planted roots, got married, had children, and created his law practice. He continued to work in politics as the Secretary of War under the presidency of President James A. Garfield in 1881. But while at a railroad station in Washington with Robert and a few others, Garfield was assassinated. Then in 1901, Robert was invited to attend a Pan-American exposition in Buffalo by President William McKinley, only to witness his assassination. Apparently, Robert has been quoted as saying that there was a certain fatality about the presidential function when I am present. Is there, Robert? Or did you perhaps concoct the death of your father with your savior Edwin Booth and his brother John, and then perhaps all these other incidences after? In our third spot today, we have the comet family. It is said that your odds of being killed by a comet is 1 in 1,600,000, so not very high. You're more likely to be hit by lightning, and even that is 1 in 500,000. And so, of course, on top of these odds, no one would expect that a comet would hit the home of a French family named, can you guess? Comet, or comet. I love the French. Comet. What are the odds? Probably in the trillions. Thankfully, nobody in the family was hurt, and they now have their very own space rock as a souvenir. Life is so funny and weird. In our number 2 spot, we have the Civil War house. In 1861, when the Civil War broke out with the first Battle of Bull Run, it at some point made its way through the garden of Wilmer McLean in Virginia. After the mass devastation, Wilmer decided to leave his home and he moved to a new place, Appomattox, Virginia. But of course, the war followed him there and actually came to a close when Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at the Appomattox Courthouse, just only steps away from McLean's new property. Poor guy. He just wanted to live a peaceful, war-free life. Is that too much to ask for? Or perhaps he's psychic and he knew that peace would happen in this particular town. Who knows, but interesting coincidence. Finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the very interesting birth and death of Mark Twain. Mark Twain was born on November 30th, 1835 in Florida, Missouri, the day that a very special comet was in the sky, Halley's Comet. The Halley's Comet returns to the Earth's vicinity approximately 75 years, give or take a bit, due to the gravitational pull of the planets that it passes. About 74 years later, Mark Twain made a prediction that his death would coincide with the comet's next appearance, just like his birth. He was known to have said that it will be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet. The Almighty has said, no doubt. Now here are 2 unaccountable freaks. They came in together, they must go out together. And he was right. He ended up dying April 21st, 1910, the day after Halley's Comet made its return. It was also a very special day as it was the first time the comet was captured on camera. Pretty awesome if I do say so myself.
Alright, coming in at number 10, we have the deep space radio bursts. Mystery fast radio bursts were discovered in 2007. These bursts flash for a micro instant but emit more energy than the sun does in 10,000 years. The high energy surges of long waves have been detected 18 times over the past 10 years, and one burst in 2012 recorded in Puerto Rico occurred numerous times in the same pattern. Okay, this is what it sounded like. After fierce debates and a lot of head scratching, the source of the sound was traced to a microgalaxy 3 billion light years away from Earth. A lot of theorists have concluded that the sound is a space signal from another world or a parallel universe looking to get in touch.
In our 9th spot, we have the television. Posted on Reddit by user SpiceRack, he was trying to take a photo of his kittens when he caught a huge glitch on camera. They explained that they were trying to capture a photo of the hidden cat on the gray blanket. When he showed his friends, they're like, "Yo dude, look at your TV." Turns out that the TV screen is showing a different image than its reflection in the mirror. Now, a lot of people tried to debunk this. He thought maybe he took the photo sideways with a professional camera, since cameras snap the photo from up to down. That could explain the change. But the poster verified that it was taken horizontally with an LG G5 with a 135-degree wide-angle lens, hence why the door at the side looks a bit warped. He didn't use panorama, and no stitching was involved, and it wasn't done intentionally. This was taken as a single shot. Quite weird, huh? What are the odds? Moving on, at number 8, we have the disappearing motorists. No, this isn't proof of teleportation. They aren't driving into a portal and transporting somewhere miles away, although it certainly looks like that. I don't know about you, but when I first saw this video, I was mind blown. Like, I really thought they were going to be driving off the road and into the water. Now, someone on Reddit has managed to debunk this one. Seems as if whoever is filming this is high up on a building looking down, and the water we see is actually just the top of a wet building. But the way it's angled makes it look like they're really going under a bridge and disappearing. Let me know if you see it now. In our 7th spot today, we had the sky glitch. Posted by Reddit user Grimsby545, they were headed to their friend's house when they legitimately saw the sky glitching and took a picture of the moment. Look at that! The sky didn't know if it was night or daytime. Now, I have seen the sunset, but I have never seen the sky do something like this. Now, some think that it's just a giant cloud blocking the sky. If it is, then that's one massive dark cloud, like it literally blocked the sun and majority of the sky. Either way, it looks like a glitch in the Matrix where the nighttime sky didn't load completely. Moving on, at number 6, we have the broken bracelet. Now, this is probably one of the weirdest glitches in the Matrix of all time. So, Reddit user Miss MXSN posted on Reddit about how she found a bead from her bracelet on her floor while sweeping. She immediately thought, "Oh no, my bracelet broke." But it didn't. The bracelet still had 15 gems and 15 turtles on it. But all of a sudden, she had this extra turtle bead. Plus, the bracelet was perfectly fine. Now, people immediately shared a number of different theories with her. One was that her bracelet broke and someone in her family bought a replacement one so that she wouldn't notice. Only problem with this is that she claims she never takes this bracelet off and it was bought while she was on vacation, so it's not just from a local store. Another person thought maybe the bead had a fine crack in it and it slipped off the string. But like she said, she always had 15 turtles on the bracelet, and that's how many she still had. Plus, upon inspection of the turtle bead, there were no cracks or flaws. So something glitched and she ended up with an extra bead. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the cat dog. This is another video making its rounds on TikTok right now. Let me show it to you. So it appears as if the camera person's neighbor's dog is up on the roof. But you might be thinking, where is its body? Well, it looks like it's just peeking its head up onto the roof to see what's going on, right? Wrong. Let's see the full video. That's right, it's a cat, folks. The whole time, that was a cat. So this cat has a dog's face on its backside. How trippy and glitchy is that? That's a plot twist no one was expecting. In our 4th spot, we have the doubled up cars. Now, what are the odds of 2 of the exact same cars parking next to each other? And not in a dealership parking lot. Having the same make and model and color of the car being parked right next to you is pretty rare, right? Now, what are the odds of another set of identical cars being parked behind these identical cars? It's a very slim chance of this happening, but it happened in real life. So not only are the two blue Audis identical, but check the cars in the back as well. You got two identical Range Rovers back there. Someone out there really said copy paste, copy paste. Coming in at number 3, we have the spawning in. Now this video is another one going viral on TikTok right now, and it's baffling a lot of people. But basically, a security camera caught a man appearing out of nowhere. Check it out. Is this evidence of a man using his teleportation skills? How on earth did he just spawn out of nowhere? Now, of course, he could have been hanging out of the side of the van, or he jumped out while the van was still in motion. But if that was me and I jumped off of a moving van, I would have been like, whoa, you know, try and get my balance. But this guy was standing still, not off balance or anything. So let me know what you think. Did he jump out of a moving van and stick his landing? Or is he a teleporter? Or both? Coming in at number 2, we have the triplets. Bus passengers were shocked when they got on a bus and saw 3 identical looking men sitting in a straight line and all asleep. These men are complete strangers, yet they somehow all got on the same bus, all sat behind each other, and all decided to take a wee snooze. I just can't get over the fact that these men aren't related. Like, the first 2 could definitely pass as twins. This is just weird. Like, what are the odds? And in our number 1 spot today, we have the crossword ladies. If you thought that last picture was crazy, wait until you take a look at this one. These ladies are complete strangers, yet they look like twins and they're both dressed identically. They both are rocking some black pants with the exact same patterned blouse. They have glasses on their face and they both have a pair of dark sunglasses on the top of their head. Not only that, but they both have a love for crosswords as they are both doing one. Like, someone will look at this photo and think that it was set up, but no, these women are complete strangers. Again, literally somebody said copy paste.